In this video, we're going to take a look at how we can create a new user on a Mac. The reason why we may want to create a new user is for troubleshooting. Let's say that you're having a problem with an app. Well, what you can do is open up that same app in a different user account. It's almost like it's a different computer. And then if that app works, then you know that it's something with your user account. If it doesn't work, then you know it's something with the app possibly. So how do we create these new users? Well, let's find out. Let's go over to my Mac. Now, I am using macOS Monterey. I'm going to show you how you do this in macOS Monterey for older versions of macOS, as well as macOS Ventura. So let's first take a look at how we do this in macOS Monterey. What we need to do is go up to our Apple menu, and then we go over to our System Preferences. Under our System Preference, we have a Users and Groups Preference pane. These are called preference panes. From here, when I click on it, what I'm able to do is create new users. So what I'm going to do is create a new user. I'm just going to call it test. We're going to delete it after we create it. I'm having a problem with an app. Let's say I'm having a problem with Safari. So I'd like to open this up as a new user. All I need to do is just go down to the lock here, click on it. I enter in my password for the computer, and then I click on plus. When I click on the plus, I'm able to create a new user. I would recommend going with an administrator, and then you just type in the name. So I'm just going to go with test. That's basically all we have to do. You can type in a password, so I'm just going to use test as my password as well, if it'll allow me. I click on create user. Looks like it allowed me. Sometimes you can't use the same password as a username, but in this case I am able to do it. So now I have a new user, test admin. Now what I'd like to do is log into that user and see if I'm having the same problem with Safari. If I were to open up Safari here, maybe it crashes all the time. I can't get to a specific web page, something like that. Again, we don't know if it's with Safari or if it's with the user account. So now all I need to do is log out of this user and then log into the new user. To do that, all we have to do is just go up to our Apple menu, and then we go over to log out. I click on it. It is going to log it out. And once it logs out, what I'm able to do is open up test here. So I'm just going to go with test. I enter in the password, which is test. And now this is a completely new user. It has its own user folder, it has its own documents, its own photos, its own music library. Now, it takes a little bit to create the user because it's creating all of this information. But once it creates it, I'm just going to go with not now here. You can see it's just like you're setting up a new Mac. I'm going to skip this here, set up later, skip. I just want to get to where I have my user information or my login. We're going to set this up later. And I'm going to disable Siri. And I'm going to set up Touch ID later. Again, I'm going to just see if something works. I don't need to really set all this up because I'm going to remove it shortly. Click on Continue. And now I'm in that new user. From here, I can open up Safari. I can see if it works. If it works, that's great. Now I know that it's a problem with my user account. If it doesn't work, then I know it's something with Safari, and maybe I have to reinstall that app. Once you have it figured out, what you'll want to do is probably delete this user account. You may keep it on your computer. It doesn't take a lot of space, but if you no longer need it, you may want to delete it. How do you do that? Well, all you need to do is log back into your original account. So I'm going to log out here. And we're going to get my list of users. I'm going to go to Johnny again. And now that I'm logged into my normal user account, all I do is go back up to my System Preferences, and then we go over to Users and Groups. I need to unlock it again. Enter in the computer password, and then I just go over to Test, and I delete it. So let's go ahead and delete it. I'm just going to delete the home folder here. I don't need anything with it. I'm going to save the space, delete user, and being that I'm logged out of that user, what I'm able to do is delete it, and you can see it is no longer there. So that is how you create a new user with an older version of macOS. Now, what about macOS Ventura and newer? They no longer, or that macOS no longer has a system preferences. It has settings, so things work a little bit different. Well, let's go and log into macOS Ventura. I'm going to reboot my computer here, and we're going to bring it back up as macOS Ventura. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm in macOS Ventura here. Let's go ahead and enter in my computer password for this user. This is my normal user here. And again, let's just say I'm having a problem with an app, and I'd like to figure out if it's with the app or with the user. Again, this is a great troubleshooting tip. I use this on a regular basis when I was a genius at the Apple Store. Log into a separate account to see if you still have that same problem. So I'm in macOS Ventura. Basically, what I need to do is go over to my Apple menu again. And then we go over to our system settings. With Ventura, it is no longer system preferences, but it basically works the same way. All I need to do is just go over to users and groups. Now you're going to see that we have a long list here. So if you can't find it, there it is there. But if you can't find it, what you can do is just search for users and groups. So I select users and groups, and all I need to do is just go and add another account. You can see it works a little bit different, but it's basically the same thing. I enter in my computer password. This is where I have to go and unlock it. Remember how I unlocked it with my system preferences? This is basically unlocking it so I can create a new user. Now what I do is I go over to administrator. I recommend creating an administrator to test it out. And I'm going to go with test again. And test. And test. It does say it is required. A password is required with macOS Ventura. I'm going to create the user, and now we have my test account. How do we log in? Well, basically it's the same way. I just go over to my Apple menu. We log out of Johnny Appleseed, and then once we log out, what I'm able to do is log in as my test. I enter in the password, which is test again. And then it's going to log into that computer. I have to follow the same steps as I did before, but basically what I'm able to do is log into that test account, and then all I have to do is just try out what issue I'm having, and if that issue is no longer there, then I know it's something in my user account. So I'm going to skip this. We're going to continue, set up later, just like we did before. I'm not going to enable Ask Siri, although I am going to delete this soon. Set up Touch ID later. Let's continue, and there we are. Close Feedback Assistant. Now I'm ready to test out that app. When you are done with this test account, again, just like with the older version of macOS, all you have to do is just log out. And once you log out, you log into your main account again. So I'm going to log into Johnny Appleseed. I enter in my password for the computer, not an iCloud password. I go back over to my system settings, and then we go over to our users and groups. We go over to test, tap on the I, and what I'm able to do is delete this account. So let's go ahead and delete it. Again, I enter in my computer password, and I do want to delete it. I'm going to delete the home folder. I just want to remove it completely from my computer. And now it is no longer there. So that's how we create different user accounts on our Mac, and why we may want to create a different user account as well as delete them. Basically, all we have to do is just go over to our system preferences or system settings, users and groups, and then we can create a new user from there. I would recommend creating an admin user. And then once you're done with it, log out of that test user, log back into your regular user, and then you can go and delete it. So that's how you can create temporary user accounts on your Mac for troubleshooting any issues that you may be having.